Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed how the world goes silent when you start chasing your dreams? How the same people who once clapped for you suddenly disappear when you begin to build something real? That's the harsh reality. No one supports you until you succeed. They'll doubt your plans, question your purpose, and even laugh at your ambition. But one day, when your results speak louder than their opinions, the same people who ignored you will stand in line to praise you. So, don't wait for support. Become your own strength, because silence today is the sound of your success being built. When you start something new, don't be surprised if people don't cheer for you. When you share your dream, don't be shocked if others laugh or doubt it. This is the harsh reality of life. No one supports you until you succeed. And it's not because they hate you. It's simply because most people can't see what you see. They can only believe after results appear, not before. When you begin your journey, the world looks at you with skepticism. They question your capability, your direction, even your sanity. You'll hear things like, "Are you sure this will work?" Or, "You're wasting your time." And in those moments, it's easy to lose heart. But remember, their disbelief doesn't define your destiny. Their doubt doesn't decide your direction. What truly matters is the quiet confidence within you, the belief that says, "I may not have arrived yet, but I'm on my way." People support results, not efforts. They celebrate success, not struggle. When you're working hard alone, unnoticed, people call you foolish. But when you win, the same people call you brilliant. That's the paradox of human nature. They only join the parade when the drums start playing. But the real victory lies in marching when no one else hears the music. Think of a seed planted in the soil. For weeks, there's no sign of life. No one claps for it. No one praises it. But beneath the surface, growth is happening. Roots are forming. Strength is building. The day the plant breaks through the soil, everyone sees it and calls it a miracle. But that miracle was made in silence, through unseen struggle and quiet perseverance. Your journey is no different. So when support is missing, don't complain. When encouragement is absent, don't stop. Because your real test isn't about getting others to believe in you. It's about believing in yourself when no one else does. It's about waking up every morning with the fire to prove that your purpose is stronger than their opinions. Every successful person you admire once stood where you are, laughed at, ignored, underestimated. But they kept walking, not because the world believed in them, but because they believed in the value of their work. They didn't need validation to continue. They needed vision. One day when you succeed, the same people who doubted you will ask how you did it. Some will say they always knew you'd make it. Smile, but don't be bitter. They couldn't see your journey because it wasn't theirs to understand. So don't wait for applause. Don't seek recognition too soon. Keep building, keep growing, keep believing. Because the moment will come when the world finally sees what you saw all along. Until then, let silence be your strength and progress be your voice. Because when you walk through the valley of loneliness, that's where your real transformation begins. It's in the quiet nights, the unseen hours, and the uncelebrated moments that greatness takes root. Every tear you hide, every failure you endure, every rejection you face, it all becomes the fuel that drives you forward. The world may not notice your pain, but one day it will witness your power. You see, people often measure your worth by what they can see, not by what you carry inside. They look at your position, not your potential. They see the surface, not the struggle. But the truth is, your worth isn't determined by their applause. It's defined by your persistence. What makes diamonds so valuable isn't just their sparkle. It's the pressure they've endured. You too are being shaped by the pressure of your challenges. And when you emerge, the same people who once overlooked you will be blinded by your shine. There's something beautiful about working in silence. When no one's watching, you're free from judgment. When no one's clapping, you're free from expectation. That's when you truly build discipline. When you do the work not because someone is watching, but because you know it matters. Every early morning, every late night, every sacrifice is carving the future you're dreaming of. And when that moment comes, when success finally knocks on your door, you look back and realize that those lonely days were never wasted. They were necessary. It's easy to want quick recognition, but remember, anything that grows fast dies fast. What takes time lasts. The roots of your dreams must go deep before they can grow tall. So when it feels like nothing is happening, remind yourself that everything is happening just beneath the surface. The world may not see your roots, but those roots will one day hold up your success. And here's the irony, the moment you start winning, support suddenly appears. People who never believed in you will suddenly become your biggest fans. They'll say they always knew you had it in you, but you'll know the truth. That you didn't rise because of their support, you rose because of your self-belief. That's the quiet strength that separates dreamers from achievers. So instead of feeling bitter when no one claps for you, feel grateful. Because those silent seasons teach you self-reliance. They train your mind to stay focused, your heart to stay humble, and your spirit to stay strong. When nobody helps you, you learn to help yourself. And that lesson will serve you far beyond success. In life, not everyone will understand your journey, because it's not meant for them. You might be walking a road that's invisible to others, but that doesn't mean it's meaningless. The mountain doesn't reveal its beauty to those standing at the bottom, it reveals it to those who climb. So keep climbing, even if no one is watching, because when you reach the top, the view will be worth every lonely step. One day, the same people who questioned your choices will quote your words. The same ones who doubted your dreams will share your story, and that day you'll understand it was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving to yourself that you were right to keep going. When you rise without support, you gain something far greater than success. You gain self-mastery. You learn that confidence doesn't come from compliments, it comes from consistency. You learn that validation is temporary, but vision is eternal. The truth is, you don't need the whole world to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself long enough for the world to notice. So keep your focus. Let your actions make the noise that words never could. Build quietly. Endure patiently. Because while others are busy doubting, you are busy becoming. And one day, they'll realize that the person they ignored was the person they were meant to be, inspired by all along. When you're walking that lonely path, remember that isolation isn't a punishment, it's preparation. The silence that surrounds you isn't emptiness, it's space for growth. The world steps away not because you're unworthy, but because your journey is meant to be walked alone for a while. It's in that solitude that clarity is born. It's in that silence that your inner voice becomes louder, clearer and stronger. You start realizing that you never really needed a crowd to move forward. All you ever needed was courage. Every day you rise and fight your battles in silence, you're becoming stronger than you realize. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, progress over pity, focus over distraction, you're building a version of yourself that the world won't be able to ignore. Because when you finally break through, the same people who left you in your struggle will be astonished by your strength. They'll see the glory but never understand the grind that created it. There's something profoundly powerful about being doubted. It pushes you to prove to yourself that you can. It fuels your determination. When people say you can't, what they're really doing is giving you free motivation. Don't get angry, get focused. Let that disbelief be the spark that ignites your drive. Because sometimes, what hurts the most becomes what helps you the most. Every no becomes a reason to try harder. Every closed door becomes an invitation to build your own. People often celebrate the final chapter of success, but they rarely acknowledge the messy drafts that came before. They see the victory, not the vulnerability. They see the trophies, not the tears. But that's the price of growth: unseen effort, unnoticed resilience, and unheard pain. You don't need the world to clap while you're still in the process. You need to clap for yourself. Because when you start appreciating your small steps, big victories follow naturally. You'll notice something interesting. Once you start winning, people change. Those who once ignored you will suddenly start finding reasons to connect. Those who didn't believe in your vision will now want to be part of it. And that's okay. That's how the world works. Don't resent them for it. Instead, smile and stay humble. Because true strength isn't about proving others wrong, it's about staying kind even when they finally come around. What matters most is who you become while nobody's watching. That's where real character is built. That's where integrity grows. When you can keep going with no validation, no recognition, and no reward, that's when you've mastered yourself. Because the hardest part of any dream isn't achieving it, it's staying faithful to it when there's no evidence that it will come true. But remember, faith is exactly that, believing before seeing. Every successful story begins in a silent struggle. The author of greatness is patience. The ink is persistence. The pages are written with failure, resilience, and hope. You can't skip the hard chapters because they're the ones that define your story. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this teaching me? Every challenge is preparing you for the stage you're meant to stand on. Don't wait for someone to light your fire. Be your own spark. Don't wait for someone to cheer you on. Be your own supporter. Because the moment you stop expecting others to push you forward, you start realizing how powerful you truly are. You no longer depend on opinions, you depend on purpose. You no longer chase attention, you chase progress. When you keep walking through storms, something magical happens. You stop fearing them. You start realizing that storms don't destroy strong trees, they make their roots deeper. You become unshakable. You stop needing external approval to feel valuable. You stop needing applause to feel proud. Because your pride now comes from effort, not from echo. And when that day arrives, when your work finally speaks for itself, you'll understand that the journey was never about who clapped for you, but about who you became in the silence when no one did. Because in those silent moments after the struggle, when you sit alone reflecting on how far you've come, you begin to see life with a new perspective. You realize that every person who left you, every friend who doubted you, every moment you felt invisible, they were all chapters written to teach you endurance. The world didn't fail to support you, it simply gave you the opportunity to discover your strength without needing their support. And that discovery changes everything. You start valuing effort more than praise, growth more than approval, and peace more than popularity. You no longer chase validation because you've built a foundation of inner confidence. You realize that applause fades, trends die, and attention shifts, but the character you built in the dark stays with you forever. That character becomes your shield against criticism, your anchor during uncertainty, and your compass when the world tries to mislead you. The truth is, success doesn't just demand hard work, it demands emotional maturity. The maturity to keep moving when appreciation is missing. The maturity to forgive those who once laughed at you. The maturity to stay humble even when you finally make it. Because success without humility is noise, but success with grace becomes a message. And that message is far louder than any praise you could ever receive. You begin to understand that the people who once ignored your efforts weren't your enemies. They were your teachers. They taught you how to depend on your own will. They taught you that sometimes silence is the best motivator. And they reminded you that true purpose doesn't need an audience, it just needs direction. You start to feel gratitude, not bitterness. You stop saying, "No one helped me," and start saying, "That's how I learned to help myself." When you walk with this mindset, failure stops being frightening. You don't see rejection as the end anymore. You see it as redirection. You stop fearing being alone because you understand that solitude is not emptiness, it's empowerment. It's the time when your vision becomes clear and your connection with your goal becomes personal. It's where passion meets patience and faith replaces fear. Every time you face a closed door, remind yourself that not every door is meant to open. Some are there to redirect you toward the right one. Sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes disappointment is direction. And sometimes being ignored is the best gift you could receive because it forces you to focus inward rather than outward. It makes you work quietly and let your results do the speaking. The beautiful thing about perseverance is that it doesn't need recognition to function. It grows in obscurity. It thrives under doubt. It survives without applause. And when it finally blossoms, it does so with such brilliance that even those who overlooked you can't ignore you anymore. That's the reward of unwavering faith in your path. You become undeniable. And when that happens, when your consistency begins to bear fruit, you'll notice something else. Success doesn't change you, it reveals you. It shows the world who you've been becoming all along. Those nights you doubted yourself, the mornings you forced yourself to rise, the sacrifices no one knew about. They all come together to create a version of you that's stronger, wiser, and calmer. You'll stop craving support because you'll realize that real success isn't about being surrounded by people, it's about being surrounded by purpose. The world might not have believed in you before, but now your presence speaks louder than their words ever did. You've become proof that belief, patience, and resilience can turn any dream into reality. So when people look at your achievements and say, "You're lucky," smile gently. Because you know it wasn't luck, it was lonely nights, unseen work, unshakable faith, and countless moments when quitting seemed easier but you didn't. You chose to stand tall when no one stood beside you. You chose to move forward when no one said you could. And that choice, made in silence, is what truly defines greatness.